The ancient myth. The golden sands of Nexevis IV shifted beneath Dr. Terran Vex's six-fingered hands as she carefully brushed away centuries of dust from what appeared to be a metallic panel. Her team had been excavating this site for nearly 3 orbital cycles, following fragmentary references in ancient texts to a species that had allegedly visited the Galactic Concord worlds over 8,000 years ago. Careful with that, she called to her assistant, Myrtle, whose tentacle-like appendages were working to dislodge another section of the buried structure. Those markings might be our best evidence yet. The twin suns of the Nexevis system beat down mercilessly on the archaeological team. Dr. Vex's pale green scales glistened with moisture as her nictitating membranes flickered across her eyes to protect them from the glare. She had staked her entire academic reputation on this dig, despite the ridicule from her peers at the Concord Academy of Historical Sciences. Humans, the very word had become synonymous with fictional or imaginary in modern Concord parlance. To suggest they had actually existed was academic suicide, which was precisely what the dean had told her when she'd requested funding for this expedition. Director Vex, you need to see this immediately. Myrtle's normally composed voice trembled with excitement. The young Crexian had uncovered something at the far edge of their dig site. Dr. Vex carefully stood, her joints protesting after hours crouched over delicate artifacts. She made her way across the excavation, the fine sand crunching beneath her boots. As she approached, she saw that Myrtle had revealed an intact doorway, a perfect rectangle cut into what appeared to be a bunker of some kind. The markings, Myrtle whispered, pointing to symbols etched above the entrance. They matched the fragmented text from the Jackson Codex. Dr. Vex felt her 3 hearts race as she examined the inscription. Her translation algorithm worked quickly, converting the ancient script. Emergency VEACON. Earth Defense 4C. Outpost 37. Earth, she whispered, testing the alien word on her tongue. The mythical homeworld of the supposed humans, mentioned in a dozen scattered texts across the Concord worlds, but never confirmed to exist. Should we enter, Director? Myrtle asked, already reaching for their excavation lights. Carefully, Dr. Vex cautioned. This structure has maintained integrity for millennia. There may be automated systems still active. The team carefully breached the entrance, finding that the ancient door mechanism still functioned perfectly once cleared of debris. Inside, the air was stale but breathable. Their lights revealed a small facility, perhaps a monitoring station of some kind. Unlike the sand-scored exterior, the interior was pristine, as though sealed in time. And there on the far wall was what Dr. Vex had spent her career searching for: undeniable proof. A holographic image of bipedal beings with varied skin tones ranging from pale beige to deep brown, standing alongside representatives of ancient Nexavian, Crexian, and Jori species. The detail was extraordinary, far beyond the technological capabilities the Concord races had possessed 8 millennia ago. By the 7 moons, whispered Myrtle. They were real. Not only real, Dr. Vex said, moving deeper into the facility, but far more advanced than our ancestors. She approached what appeared to be a control console. The alien design was elegant yet practical, with intuitive interfaces that seemed to respond to proximity. As Dr. Vex moved closer, lights began to activate throughout the facility. A soft hum filled the air as dormant systems awakened. Director, perhaps we should wait for the xenotech specialists, suggested Myrtle nervously. But academic curiosity overcame caution. Dr. Vex reached out, her scaled fingers hovering over what appeared to be the central control interface. This could rewrite Concord history, she murmured. Her touch activated the system. Immediately, holographic displays materialized around them, showing star charts, technical schematics, and data streams in the same ancient script. A synthetic voice spoke in an unknown language, then cycled through several dialects before finding one close enough to modern Nexavian for basic comprehension. Emergency Protocol Alpha initiated. Beacon activation sequence commencing. Warning: this action will alert Earth Defense Force to potential threat conditions. Confirm authorization. Dr. Vex froze, suddenly understanding the magnitude of what she had stumbled upon. This wasn't just an archaeological find. It was an active communication system. Deactivate, she commanded urgently. Cancel sequence. The system paused, then responded. Voice pattern unrecognized. Genetic signature scan negative for authorized personnel. Defaulting to emergency protocols. Beacon activated. The low thrumming sound began to build within the facility. Outside, Myrtle reported that a section of the structure was rising from the sand, extending what appeared to be a transmission array. What have we done? Dr. Vex whispered. 3 days later, Dr. Vex stood before the Concord High Council, the highest governing body of the 27 species that comprise the Galactic Concord. The chamber was filled with representatives from every member world, an emergency session called in response to her discovery and its aftermath. High Chancellor Jor Belix, an elderly Jori whose translucent skin revealed the complex neural pathways beneath, addressed the assembled dignitaries. For those who have not reviewed the preliminary reports, Dr. Terran Vex's archaeological team has inadvertently activated an ancient communication device on Nexavis IV. This device appears to have transmitted a signal to unknown coordinates beyond the outer rim. Murmurs filled the chamber. The outer rim was the boundary of known space, beyond which lay only uncharted darkness. Chancellor, interrupted Councillor Drex of the Vortis Mercantile Guild, are we to understand that Dr. Vex believes this signal was sent to humans? The word was spoken with obvious skepticism, eliciting derisive laughter from several delegations. Dr. Vex stepped forward. I have submitted comprehensive evidence confirming that humans were not mythological beings, but an advanced spacefaring civilization that maintained outposts throughout what is now Concord space approximately 8 millennia ago. Fragments of ancient text and a bunker that could have been built by any lost civilization. Dismissed Councillor Krex of the Nexavian Science Directorate. Your academic desperation has led you to connect unrelated artifacts to support your human theory, and now you've activated technology you don't understand. The facility identified itself as human in origin, Dr. Vex insisted. The language patterns, the technological signature, the genetic reference markers in the security systems, all point to the same conclusion. Humans existed, they were here, and now we've called to them. And you believe they still exist. After 8,000 years, Chancellor Belix asked, his tone gentler than the others, but still dubious. The facility was maintained in perfect condition by automated systems designed to last millennia. Dr. Vex replied. A civilization capable of such engineering could certainly. She was interrupted by a commotion at the chamber entrance. A Concord fleet officer rushed in, bypassing security protocols, an unprecedented breach of council etiquette. Chancellor, councillors, the officer gasped. Long-range sensors have detected multiple objects entering Concord space from beyond the outer rim. They're moving at speeds our instruments can barely register. The chamber erupted in chaos. How many objects? Demanded the Chancellor. 17 large vessels, sir. Unknown configuration. They're not responding to standard identification requests. Admiral Fricks of the Concord Defense Fleet stood. I recommend immediate mobilization of all military assets. If these are hostile forces, they're following the reverse trajectory of the beacon signal, the officer added. They're heading directly for the Nexavis system. All eyes turned to Dr. Vex, whose revelatory triumph had suddenly become a potential existential threat to the entire Concord. How long until they reach Nexavis? Chancellor Belix asked. At current velocity, less than 26 hours, sir. The following day, the Nexavis system was in full crisis mode. Civilian evacuation ships clogged the main transit corridors, while the Concord's limited military vessels formed a defensive perimeter around Nexavis IV. Dr. Vex had been kept under close observation, her expertise suddenly valuable to the same officials who had dismissed her research. The texts never suggested hostility, she explained to Admiral Thrix in the hastily established command center. All ancient references describe humans as guardians or allies to our ancestor species. Guardians against what? The Admiral asked, his chitinous exoskeleton clicking as he studied tactical displays. The texts are unclear. There are references to the darkness between stars and those who consume worlds, but nothing specific enough to identify a known threat. Well, something made them leave, Thrix noted grimly. And now they're coming back. The sensor officer's voice cut through their conversation. Admiral, the vessels have entered the system. They've dropped from faster-than-light travel much closer than should be possible. Defensive positions. Thrix commanded. All ships, maintain discipline. The command center's main display activated, showing the approaching vessels. They were unlike anything in Concord records. Sleek, angular craft with a distinctive aesthetic that somehow conveyed both function and beauty. They moved with precision that defied conventional physics, their formation adjusting seamlessly as they approached. They're scanning us, reported the sensor officer. Our systems can barely track their energy signatures. Are they deploying weapons? Thrix demanded. Unknown, sir. Our analysis can't identify most of their external structures. Suddenly, all communication systems in the command center activated simultaneously. Display screens flickered, then stabilized to show an image that caused Dr. Vex to gasp. A bipedal being with dark skin and short-cropped black hair looked out at them. Its face was remarkably similar to the holographic images from the ancient facility, though its clothing was different, a form-fitting uniform of deep blue with silver insignia. Greetings, peoples of the Galactic Concord, the being said in flawless modern Nexavian. I am Fleet Commander Maya Chen of the Earth Defense Force. We received your emergency beacon and have come as sworn by the ancient pact. Please respond. The command center fell silent, the reality of the situation suddenly crashing down on everyone present. The myths were real. Humans had returned. And judging by the technology that had brought them here so quickly, they were far more advanced than the Concord had ever imagined. The returned Guardians. The diplomatic reception hall aboard the Concord flagship, Harmonious Accord, had been hastily prepared for the most significant first contact in recorded history. Chancellor Bellick stood with the High Council members, flanked by Concord fleet officers and cultural specialists, including Dr. Terran Vex, whose vindication had transformed her overnight from academic pariah to essential expert. The human delegation materialized rather than docked, their transportation technology bypassing conventional airlocks and security measures as though they were trivial obstacles. 5 humans appeared in the center of the hall, led by Fleet Commander Maya Chen. Up close, the humans were even more fascinating. They varied significantly in appearance, different heights, builds, skin tones, and facial features, yet all shared the same basic bipedal structure. Their movements were fluid and confident, their eyes constantly assessing their surroundings with what Dr. Vex recognized as military awareness. Chancellor Belix, Commander Chen said, stepping forward and offering a slight bow. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting. I apologize for the alarm our arrival has caused. The Chancellor's translator processed her words perfectly, though she was speaking in what must have been a human language. Commander Chen, the Chancellor replied cautiously, the Galactic Concord welcomes you, though we admit to considerable surprise. Until recently, many believed humans to be merely mythological. A slight smile crossed Chen's face. We are quite real, Chancellor, and we have been away far too long. 8,000 years, according to our records, Dr. Vex interjected. I'm Dr. Terran Vex, Senorcheologist. My team discovered and accidentally activated your beacon. Commander Chen turned to her with evident interest. Then we owe you our thanks, Doctor. The beacons were designed to activate only in specific circumstances, either by authorized personnel or in response to certain threats. What threats? Admiral Thrix asked bluntly. Your arrival has caused considerable concern among our population. Chen nodded. I understand. But first, allow me to establish our intentions clearly. We have not returned to conquer or displace. Earth Defense Force has maintained its original mission for 8 millennia, to protect sentient life in this galaxy from threats beyond conventional understanding. You abandoned this region of space for 8,000 years, Counselor Krex noted skeptically. That hardly suggests dedicated protection. We never abandoned you, corrected another human, a pale-skinned male with auburn hair. I am Science Director Alexander Volkov. When we departed, we left behind monitoring stations and emergency beacons. We have watched the development of your Concord from afar, intervening only when absolutely necessary, and in ways you would never detect. Why leave it all? Dr. Vex asked. The ancient texts suggest humans were integrated with our ancestor species, sharing technology and knowledge. Commander Chen exchanged glances with her team before responding. We left to draw the enemy away from populated worlds. They were hunting us specifically. What enemy? Chancellor Belix asked, voicing the question on everyone's mind. We call them the Void Collective, Chen said grimly. They exist partially outside conventional space-time, making them difficult to detect with standard sensors. 8,000 years ago, they began targeting worlds where humans had established outposts. We realized our presence was endangering our allies, so we enacted the Exodus Protocol, withdrawing all human presence from this galactic sector and establishing a quarantine zone beyond the outer rim. You sacrificed your position here to protect our ancestor species, Dr. Vex realized, finally understanding the cryptic references in the ancient texts. It was our duty, Chen said simply. And it worked. For 8 millennia. The Void Collective followed us, leaving this sector in peace. Until now, Admiral Thrix concluded. Your beacon activated, you returned, and these Void entities will follow. They're already here, said Volkov quietly. That's why the beacon activated. Its sensors detected Void incursion patterns in this sector 3 days before Dr. Vex's team discovered it. The activation wasn't accidental. It was responding to an imminent threat. The Concord delegation exchanged alarmed glances. We've detected nothing unusual, Admiral Thrix insisted. You wouldn't, Chen explained. The Void Collective begins its infiltration beyond conventional detection. They insert themselves through dimensional weak points, establishing footholds in isolated regions. By the time standard sensors detect them, infection is usually widespread. Infection? Chancellor Belix asked, his translucent skin paling further. They consume and convert organic and mechanical systems into extensions of their collective. Volkov explained clinically. A planet at advanced stages of void infection becomes a dimensional rupture point, allowing their main forces to enter our universe. The implications were horrifying. Dr. Vex recalled the ancient text references to those who consume worlds with new understanding. Where? She asked urgently. Where is this infection? Chen activated a holographic display from a device on her wrist. A detailed map of the Concord territories appeared, with a pulsing red indicator on a small outpost world near the outer rim. Proxima Station, Admiral Thrix identified. A mining and research outpost. Population approximately 20,000. We detected the dimensional disturbance signature yesterday, Chen said. Based on our models, the infection began approximately 40 local days ago. We estimate 3 days before the rupture becomes irreversible. 3 days. Chancellor Belix looked stricken. That's not enough time to evacuate the sector, let alone mount a defense against an enemy we can't even detect. That's why we're here, Chen said firmly. Earth Defense Force has been fighting the Void Collective for millennia. We have the technology and experience to contain this incursion before it spreads. At what cost? Counselor Krex demanded. How do we know your solution won't be worse than the problem? You possess technology far beyond our understanding. Because 8,000 years ago, humans fought and died to protect your ancestor species from this same threat. Chen replied, her voice hardening. We withdrew not out of abandonment but out of protection. Now the threat has returned, and so have we. Dr. Vex stepped forward. The ancient texts consistently describe humans as guardians who promise to return in times of greatest need. I believe we should trust them. The texts also say they possessed weapons that could shatter worlds, Fricks noted grimly. Only as a last resort, Chen acknowledged. But we have far more precise methods now. We need your cooperation, not your blind faith. The Void Collective feeds on division and fear. Chancellor Balix took a moment to confer with the other council members before turning back to the human delegation. What do you require from us, Commander Chen? Full access to your data on Proxima Station, coordination with your military assets, and a unified front. The Concord must present strength and solidarity. The Void seeks weakness to exploit. The next 72 hours were a blur of activity. The human vessels moved into position around Proxima Station, establishing what they called a dimensional stabilization field to prevent the rupture from expanding. Concord vessels maintained a secondary perimeter, their sensors enhanced by human technology to detect the subtle energy patterns of void activity. Dr. Vex found herself working closely with Science Director Volkov, analyzing data streams from the infected station. The symptoms were subtle but unmistakable once you knew what to look for. Power fluctuations, communications anomalies, and behavioral changes among the station personnel that had been dismissed as stress or equipment malfunctions. How do you fight something that exists partially outside our reality? She asked Volkov as they reviewed the latest scans. By understanding that reality is far more malleable than most species realize, he replied. The Void uses this against us, but we've learned to use it against them. The human fleet deployed specialized teams to the station, personnel in adaptive suits that seemed to shimmer and change as they moved through the infected areas. They established containment zones and began the painstaking process of extracting civilian personnel. On the third day, with evacuation nearly complete, the situation deteriorated rapidly. The dimensional disturbances increased exponentially, creating visible rifts in space around the station. They know we're here, Commander Chen informed the Concord leadership from the bridge of her flagship. They're accelerating the process. Can you contain it? Chancellor Billix asked, his normally composed demeanor showing clear strain. Yes, Chen replied firmly, but we need to implement the sundering protocol. All Concord vessels must withdraw to a safe distance immediately. Admiral Thrix objected. You're asking us to place complete trust in you with no oversight. I'm asking you to survive, Chen corrected. What happens next will distort space-time in ways your vessels aren't shielded against. After tense deliberation, the Chancellor ordered the withdrawal, though Admiral Thrix insisted on maintaining a long-range observation position. Dr. Vex requested and received permission to remain aboard Commander Chen's vessel as a Concord observer. From the bridge of the human flagship, Dr. Vex witnessed something beyond comprehension. The human vessels formed a precise geometric pattern around Proxima Station, then simultaneously activated what Chen called reality anchors, devices that somehow reinforced the structural integrity of conventional space-time. The dimensional ruptures around the station became fully visible, writhing tears in reality through which Dr. Vex glimpsed impossible geometries and shapes that hurt her eyes to observe. From these ruptures emerged tendrils of what looked like liquid darkness that sought to engulf the station. Void manifestation at critical mass, reported a human officer. Rupture collapse imminent. Execute sundering sequence, Chen commanded calmly. The human vessels projected focused beams of iridescent energy that converged on the station. Instead of destroying it, they created a shimmering bubble that seemed to isolate the station in its own pocket of space-time. What's happening? Dr. Vex asked, struggling to interpret the events through any scientific framework she understood. We're separating that section of space-time from our universe, Volkov explained, monitoring complex data streams, essentially quarantining the infection by removing its dimensional anchor point. The bubble contracted rapidly, compressing the station and the void manifestations into an increasingly smaller space. With a final pulse from the human vessels, the bubble collapsed to a singularity, and then vanished. Where Proxima Station had been, only empty space remained. "Target eliminated," reported the human officer. Dimensional stability restored. No residual void signatures detected. Dr. Vex stared in awe. "You didn't destroy it. You removed it from our universe entirely." "Precisely," Chen confirmed. "Destruction merely dissipates void energy, allowing it to reconstitute elsewhere. Dimensional excision eliminates the infection completely." When the Concorde vessels returned, they found no debris, no radiation, no evidence the station had ever existed beyond a perfect sphere of empty space. In the aftermath, a historic alliance was formed. The humans established a permanent presence in Concorde space, sharing defensive technologies and establishing early warning systems against future void incursions. The ancient myths became living history as humans once again walked among the worlds they had once protected. Dr. Terran Vex became the Concorde's ambassador to Earth, the first non-human permitted to visit the legendary homeworld of humanity. There she discovered libraries containing detailed records of the ancient partnerships between humans and Concorde ancestor species, confirming her theories and opening new chapters of understanding. The humans had never forgotten their promise to return when needed. For 8 millennia, they had fought an enemy beyond comprehension, developing technologies that seemed like magic to protect life throughout the galaxy. They had evolved into something more than their ancestors, yet remained fundamentally committed to their original purpose. They were guardians not by conquest or dominance, but by choice, exemplifying principles that transcended species and time. And in their return, the Concorde found not conquerors or overlords, but allies who had sacrificed much to protect worlds not their own. When Chancellor Billix asked Commander Chen why humans had dedicated millennia to such a seemingly thankless mission, her answer became enshrined in the new Concorde Charter. "Because that's what humans do. We guard the light against the darkness, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. 8,000 years ago, we made a promise to your ancestors. Humans keep their promises, no matter how long it takes."